Well, if you like true crime, you're probably going to love this. This is Flashback Perspectives. I'm Instructor Thompson in my self-defense studio. This is our podcast and blog on real violence and remembering, flashing back to the perspectives that we had during and after real violence, real attacks have occurred. My guests, and some of them are instructors, some of them are martial artists, and many of them, well, they all wear many hats. But they live in the polite society that we do today. Except for when polite society breaks down, that primal comes out, things change. Our perspective then is different than how we think it might happen. Our perspective after is different than during, and our perspective long after often starts to change a little bit then too. Please, if you enjoy the series, listen and learn vicariously the best way, because the price has already been paid. It's been paid in full and often paid in blood. Our guest today is Instructor Josh Heald. If you watch the channel, you know we featured him here before. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, a Kempo brown belt as well, and a cage fighter. Instructor Heald had experienced some intense and crazy things, and upon first learning his story, I wasn't shocked until the end, but that whole situation blew my mind. Please help me welcome him and listen to the lessons that we can take from his experience, having already paid the price in full and in blood. Instructor Heald. This is our first episode of Flashback Perspectives. We are here with Instructor Heald, and if you would please, sir, give yourself a quick introduction about what you teach and what you do as far as training. I have a bit of an introduction for you already, but I'd like you to be able to share some of who you are and your journey with us.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, everyone. My name is Joshua Heald. I am a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a brown belt in Kempo Karate. I teach Jiu-Jitsu. I'm an avid workouter. I work out a lot, do calisthenics. I'm a personal trainer. I own a gym. I own a landscape company. I also do MMA. 2013 to 2019, and I'm looking to get back into it this year. So I'll be having probably my first cage fight in what was it, in 5-6 years. This year, getting myself back into the swing of things. Huge believer in martial arts for keeping your life stress more under control and teaching you discipline. And that's kind of who I am. That's what my background is. I started boxing when I was 11 years old, and I transitioned into more mixed martial arts when I was 15. That's also when I started Kempo, and I fell in love with it. Only reason I haven't finished my black belt on the Kempo journey is I had a falling out with my instructor, and then I just never found a different gym. And I was doing a lot of other martial arts like kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Balinta walk. Keeping myself very well occupied.
It's awesome. Very, very cool. So, we've had you on the channel before. I've always been very impressed. And I remember the first video that I saw of you was with that upside down handstand. And I was like watching the frame kind of move back and forth. And I realized in that moment, I was like, you weigh more than the frame. Wow. That is ridiculously impressive. And
yeah, that was an unstable pull-up bar at a music festival called Shambhala, and that was my first time pulling that off. Actually, that was a very difficult. It was a muscle up to handstand press on a bar that wobbled. So,
yeah,
I appreciate your kindness.
Most people can't even do a pull-up, man. Like you can get a couple of pull-ups in, but to muscle up and then go upside down and start doing like upside down push, I was like, no way. That was awesome. Yeah, man, so much of your stuff is just ridiculously impressive. And, you have a TikTok channel there as well. Do you have any other channels, YouTube or anything?
I'm going to start a YouTube Shorts channel here shortly, but currently all I have is TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay.
TikTok's where I put the majority of my stuff. I actually just recently started putting the stuff on Instagram. So trying to build my next. But if you guys want to see everything that I do, TikTok is the spot you're going to see it. If you only want to see like fitness related stuff, that's going to be Instagram. Pretty much only is focusing on that. But if you guys want the funnies too, check out TikTok.
Right. No, yeah, and the TikTok audience, awesome. I love all your stuff on there. It's so impressive. And especially, because you can go through everything from your workouts to, your routines. And some of my favorite stuff you have with the inspirational talks, it's very much so profound. And a lot of people were really impressed with that. Especially, you're in your 30s. Yeah, your early 30s.
Yeah, 34.
Wow, man. Yeah. I think most of us wish we had those kind of perspectives at 34. That like there were some very, very insightful videos. I always try to repost them too, because it's just, you got to check out his channel and TikTok and the things that he goes into. It's not just impressive, but when you hear those inspirational talks, you'll know because that kind of stuff only really comes from experience. And so it's what we're getting at today. I think, having spoken to you before and hearing this story it was crazy. And I'm really thankful that you're willing to share it with us and so we can learn from your experience here and how that happened and how everything translated. So, if you want to go ahead, we'll go through the questions, after, but I'm going to go ahead and just tell your story, what happened, and in your own words, how that all transpired.
Yeah, happy to do so. This was back a long time ago, back when I was 20 years old. I was going to Seattle Pacific University at the time, and this was probably the most life-changing experience I think that I've had. I was coming home from school. Actually, let's preface this. I had just gotten married. I got married really young. I had just gotten married like 3 months before this. And that's an important part of this story because the relaxation that I had and the perception I had when this situation was happening was kind of based on the fact that I just got married. And I thought my wife was greeting me. But I had come home from school and parked on the street. At the time, I was living in Bothell, Washington. And this really small apartment complex had like 4 units. It was really shitty. I was poor. The lock on it was malfunctioning. Everything about it wasn't great. But it was my spot, me and my wife's spot. I was happy to be there. I parked on the street, and as I'm like getting my phone and my stuff together, my door opens. And when my door opened, my thought was like, oh, my wife has come to greet me. That's nice. And all of a sudden, I felt an immense amount of pressure on my leg. And that made me turn and look, and I see the most angry looking man with a big knife staring me down. And he looks at me and he says, "You're going to fucking kill me and my girlfriend? No, fuck you. I'm going to kill you." And it was a surreal moment. And as I looked at the knife and I looked at him, all I could think is, I'm going to die. And instead of getting stabbed as the knife was coming towards me, I ended up doing an upward block. I moved myself into the center of my car. I kicked my attacker in the groin, and then I kicked him in the chest to get him out of the car. I came out of the car with him, grabbed him by the hair, slammed his head against my car, pulled my knife out. And as I went to go stab him in the neck, because that's what my training was teaching me to do, I locked eyes with him. And in that moment, all I saw was the most intense fear I've ever seen in another man in my entire life up to that point. His eyes were literally shaking back and forth like little pinballs. And when I saw that, it stopped my action completely. I went from scared to rageful to very empathetic. And I realized that this guy thought he was about to die. And so I ended up shoving him away from me, and he scurried up and he just started shouting at me like, "I'm not fucking playing, man. Like, I'm not fucking playing." And I was like, "No shit, you're not playing. Like, you just tried to fucking stab me. Okay, look at my." I was like, "Look at my hand. Do you see the ring? I just fucking got married. I have no idea who you are. Okay, I don't know who your girlfriend is. Like, I don't know anything about you." And then he turns and runs into the apartment complex across the street from mine. And I went from empathy to oh shit very quickly. At this point in my life, my Kempo instructor, he was a Bothell police sergeant, and he was on the Hawaii SWAT team before he moved to Washington. And one thing that he always taught us was the pillars of Kempo are escape, control, destroy. If you get to destroy and you don't follow through, you are giving your attacker the chance to kill you and come back and hurt you. Don't ever do that. If you're at destroy, finish. Destroy, make sure you neutralize the situation. He's like, you never know if someone's going to go and grab a weapon or a gun or any sort of stuff. So if you're in destroy mode, you destroy. And as he ran to the apartment complex across the street, all I could think is, he's going to grab a gun. Oh, shit. And my first apartment, the door on it, the lock was really fucked up. On average, it took me like a minute to 2 minutes to get into my apartment because the fucking key didn't work. And my landlord at the time just was dragging ass on fixing it. So as my mind was racing through all of these situations, I'm like, my wife is in there. I don't want to leave the attacker to where my wife is. This isn't good. My mind says call 911. So I call 911. They pick up the phone. They say, what's your emergency? What's your location? I say, someone just tried to kill me with a knife. They're like, okay. I'm like, he just ran into the apartment complex. I'm scared that he's going to grab a gun. Like, I need people here right now. And she's like, okay, like, get to a safe location. I'm going to dispatch you to an officer. We're sending officers on the way. And I lived like a block from the Bothell Police Department, very close to the Bothell Police Department, probably 2 blocks actually. So they dispatched me over to a police officer that's on the way. And the officer is like, tell me what's going on. I tell him the guy ran to the apartment complex across the street. He just tried to kill me. And I see the guy walking back out. And I'm like, he's coming back out. And the officer's like, get to a safe location. And I was like, there is no safe location. And he goes, put the phone on speaker and defend yourself. So I put the phone on speaker. And at this point, the guy comes out with his hands up and he's like, I fucked up. I fucked up. I fucked up. I fucked up. He goes, I thought you were here to kill me. Like, I thought you were someone else. I fucked up. And I'm just I'm giving him commands. I'm like, stop. Because he's walking towards me. I say, stop. I pulled my knife back out at this point. I said, don't come any closer. If you come closer, I'm going to kill you. I need you to stop. And he's like, I fucked up. I'm really sorry. I fucked up. And at that moment, 2 officers came from below, 3 officers came from the bottom, and they just come from the top and the bottom of the street. They get out of the cars, guns drawn on us immediately. They're yelling at us to get on the ground, put the knife down. I've never had a gun pointed at me like that, so it was a secondary, scary situation. And I shot the knife down, I get on the group, they cuff both of us, and immediately they separate us. They take him all the way to the top of the street, they got me at the bottom of the street, and they're just trying to figure out like what's going on. They're like, what's happening? I'm like, I called 911, my phone's on speaker right there. And within time was kind of hard to figure out because I had so much adrenaline going on and very disorienting, but what felt like 30 seconds to a minute, they took the cuffs off. And an officer comes down and he's like, hey, that guy just said that he tried to kill you. He thought that you were here to kill him. Everything you told us, like, it's making sense. There's a knife literally in my fucking car seat. And the officer was like, this is kind of a delicate situation here because the guy, and when I tell you that keep in mind, I'm 20, okay? This guy to me seemed like my age. He was bigger than me. He was like probably 6'2", 220 pounds if I had to guess, looking like the same age as me. But the officer comes down and he says, this is a 17-year-old kid. Goes to Bothell High School.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, the officer's like, he does have text messages from someone saying that they're on their way to kill him. And he told the officer the reason he was scared and he wanted to kill me before I could kill him. And the text message said he was coming in a blue car, which my car is green, right?
Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, it was like a little Ford Taurus, green little car, right? And I'm like, are you joking me? And they're like, look, like, we're arresting him because this is a felony. It's, it was an attempt to, what did they call it? It was assault with a deadly weapon was the charge. And they're like, we will contact you later. Go inside. You're okay. And like, I'm telling the officer exactly what happened. He's like, and I told him, because this is possible, right? Vince is my Kempo instructor. They're like, it's a really good thing that you did Kempo. It's a good thing you're alive. It's a good thing he came after you, right? And I get done. And this whole entire time, I kid you not, like I was fine. Like I was fine. No problems. The officers leave and I go to walk inside and I start violently shaking. Never experienced anything like this before. My hands are shaking and like I'm feeling this swell of emotions and like I get inside and I just start bawling my eyes out. And the next few weeks, I was having a really hard time rationalizing what had happened for a couple of reasons. The main reason was this: I didn't see it coming. My situational awareness, which I had learned a lot about, and that's not even just from Kempo, but also from the way I was raised. My situational awareness normally is very high, and I was relaxed in that moment. Wasn't paying attention to anything going on in that moment. I just got home. I was feeling, I felt like I was in a space where I did not need to have a heightened situational awareness.
Yeah.
So that was really messing with my psyche. The other thing that was messing with my psyche was up until that point, I thought I was immortal. Right. Part of that is young.
Yeah.
Part of that is young. Young. I was into fighting really early on. I was always pretty much top dog because when you get put into boxing at 11 and get into mixed martial arts at 14 and are fighting, right, doing smokers and doing events,
Right.
like other kids, the majority of them, unless they're a part of that world,
Right.
there's a huge differential in power, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I was struggling with this, like I can die. Like literally all I could think, this is all I could think. If that kid, because he was a kid, but let's call him a young man. If that young man would have said no words to me and decided just to plunge the knife into me, instead of giving me a 2-second read, okay, he would have stabbed me.
Right.
I would not, my body reacted without thought.
Right.
The upward block, the ball shot, I didn't engage in thought until I was coming out of the car.
Right.
Everything in that moment, from him saying the words to me to the initial upward block, the groin shot, and the chest shot, was just instinct and reaction.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't lined up with my thoughts, because my thought was, I'm gonna die.
Right.
But my body moved, which is crazy. But all I could think is like, I am not immortal. I can die. I almost just did. And then the third thing I was struggling with is I grew up in a very militaristic, conservative home with a father that was very much so like, if you put the hammer down, you put the hammer down. Mercy is a weakness. And if you grant mercy, it's going to bite you in the ass, which same thing Kempo was teaching me, right? And I was struggling with the fact that I, in the moment, paused. I hesitated.
Right.
And again, all I could think of is if that situation would have played out differently, if that kid would have had a gun, got that gun, came out and just mowed me down.
Right.
Struggling with all of those things, like what is wrong with me, essentially. And even in my reflection of it, like today, Josh, I would have handled that situation way differently, because after I got out of the car, I wouldn't have killed that guy, but I would not have let that guy up.
Right.
Until the police were there and he was in custody.
Right.
But I was so thrown off by the situation that I was having a hard time making, proper choices. So it was a moment in my life that changed the trajectory of my life, because I had to, one, deal with psychological damage,
Yep.
which took me probably a good 2 years of PTSD therapy to deal with.
Years.
And I had to push through the newfound fear that I walked in for about I want to say about 6 months, I was living in a newfound fear that I'd never experienced before, which was this fear of someone might attack me, and I might not see it coming. And that fear was never a thing for me because I had people be aggressive to me. I had been in fights before that. And like that kind of aggression never scared me because I saw it coming and like also fucking bring it, dude. You know, like no problem. But that level of threat, which is not because up until that point, violence to me was like, I'll either beat you up or you'll beat me up. That was violence, right?
Right.
Violence was never, I'm going to kill you or you kill me.
Right.
And now my perspective had changed, and my position at school, I had started SPU's first ever self-defense slash MMA club. I would get to Nickerson Street at 4 a.m. in Seattle. I would open up Martial Sports, which was a martial art gym that was kind enough to let me use their space in exchange for working with their fighters. So I would open that place up. Their fighters would come in at 4:30. 4:30 to 6 was basically like drills, sparring, um, cleaning, right? And then I would start doing the club stuff after that. So I'm getting there, and all of a sudden, like I am scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared, and yeah, I can't bring my gun to SPU,
Right.
right? Um, and I was struggling. I was really struggling, and it took me. I had this moment of how do I overcome this? Because I had two feelings. One was I never wanted to fight or be in martial arts again. And the other was like, I need to dive so deep into this that never again am I going to be caught off guard and I can take anyone. The
Yeah.
fear no man mentality, which is the path that I ended up taking. But getting there was tough because I had to take a 6 month break from Kempo. I tried going back to Kempo, and in Kempo, we were doing night disarmaments, and I accidentally broke one of my Kempo partner's wrists pretty badly. And it wasn't because I wanted to. I freaked the fuck out. And because I freaked the fuck out, the amount of force that I put into it was insane. It was ludicrous. And it really hurt someone that was my friend, someone that did not deserve to be hurt. We're drilling.
Right.
Um, you should never break your drilling partners.
Right.
Especially, like it's just, and like my instructor was pretty chill about it because he's like, hey, he was the one that was like, we need to get you into some PTSD
Right.
therapy right away. We need to take a break from Kempo. He goes, these reactions, you're having these reactions because we're too close to,
Right.
we're too close to the feelings that you're experiencing. So yeah, it was a wild experience for me.
Yeah.
And that's the story.
Thank you so much for sharing it, man. I mean, the first time I remember talking with you about this, I thought, you know, I couldn't believe that twist that he had the thought that I mean, I could see him getting charged still because he preemptively attacked you, but that he thought he was in the right. And the one constant thing that I've always seen is it's chaos and confusion.
Yeah, no, 100%. And here's the thing, that kid, yeah, young man, like he was also fearing for his life. That was what caused his action. And I
Right.
think probably some drugs.
Yeah.
Because the police asked him, and obviously I only heard this from the police, but they asked him like, why would you not call 911? And he
Right.
just said he didn't think about it, and that he wanted to take me out before I could take him out.
Right.
I think the true story, after some deciphering and talking to my instructor, because obviously he was part of the police department and could hear about the case. I think the truth is that this was a drug related thing.
Right.
That's why he had the text messages he had. I think
Right.
that he got involved with the wrong person. I think someone was threatening him because they were pissed off.
Right.
Probably because he took drugs and didn't pay for them, or it could be so many things, right?
So many things. Yeah.
And so paranoia and fear, and that was, I'm sure I obviously I never followed up with that kid.
Right.
In fact, my desire to ever see that kid or talk to that kid, like
Zero.
you know,
Nope.
yeah,
Anyway. Yeah.
it was literally zero because I, was just, I mean, I was really angry at that kid
Right. Oh yeah.
for about a year because my life was so fucked and I was battling with
Yeah.
this newfound fear and I was
Right.
mad. I was mad that I was afraid. Dude, I
Right.
was the first morning at SPU when I couldn't get out of my car.
Right.
And for those of you that are watching this, true fear, in case you guys don't know what that is, true fear is the inability to move. That is true fear. Anything outside of that is a low spectrum of what fear is. But true fear, you can't move. So when I tell you I was super angry and feeling like a fucking pussy that first morning I got to SPU and I couldn't get out of my car.
Yeah.
I could not open the door, dude. Do you know how embarrassing that is?
Right. You know, it certainly can be. 99.9% of all of this is not just normal, it is the status quo of how these things happen. The 1% or 0.1% of your story that is totally different, and I'm sure you've probably psychoanalyzed it a million times because that's what you do. You psychoanalyze it again and again and again. I have never heard somebody in the midst of the action stop, realize that they messed up, and start vocalizing it to the other party. That was new to me. That doesn't usually happen. They don't usually go, I fucked up, I fucked up, I fucked up, I'm sorry. Like, that can come, but like in the middle is insane to hear about that. Like that reflection in the moment when I don't even know, like, do you know what triggered him to understand and realize?
To be 100% honest, this is my best guess. I think one, I gave him mercy.
Right.
Okay, and if I was there to kill him,
Need to kill
then
him.
like I would have killed him. He'd be
Right.
fucking dead,
Right. Right.
right? Two, me pointing out to him a couple of things like I just got married. I don't know who you
Right.
are. I don't know who your
Right.
girlfriend is.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I'm assuming he went inside, relooked at those messages, looked at my car out the window, and was like, "That's a
Yeah.
fucking green." I mean, like, so all I'm imagining is his head,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I truly believe him coming out and saying, "I fucked up. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me." I think is because he probably was like, "Shit, this guy's gonna call 911."
Well, yeah. Okay.
Accurately so, right?
Yeah.
Accurately so.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I think the big thing for me that was so crazy about the situation, and again, this is why I was struggling with it, is because of the way I grew up, and we had a lot of aggression and rage in the household. And before I learned how to like harness my emotions and control my rage, if you got me into the fight zone, I am fighting you until like there's no fight left, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's never been with weapons, but like that is very much so when I get into
Right.
fight mode where I'm at. And the fact that I snapped out of that so quickly when I saw the fear in his eyes,
Right.
was a new thing for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting situation.
Absolutely.
Um,
I know we got about 20 minutes or so left before you got to go. And we have some questions I want to go through, but I have one more that I didn't send you yet. I thought of in just this moment. For the MMA community, for the cage fighters out there, what is different from your perspective of what you do in the cage to what real violence looks like in the street?
So, biggest thing about street fighting and cage fighting, real violence in the street and cage fighting, is it's controlled. And I know for a fact that if you knock me out or if I just don't defend myself, the fight is going to be stopped by a referee. And it's a contract, right? I'm getting in the cage with another man who's agreed to get in the cage with me to fight each other to the point where I either knock you out, I tap you out, or I TKO you. And we both have agreed to that. The fear that's going into that is in my opinion, just for me personally, it might be different for every fighter, but like the biggest fear about cage fighting for me is losing.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
It's losing.
Right. Right.
I got over the fear of getting beat up at a very young age because I got the shit kicked out of me so many times that like getting beat up to me is like, okay, I got beat up, right? Getting knocked out, I got knocked out.
It's Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes at the gym sparring, I've been knocked out sparring, like it happens.
Right.
But losing, especially in front of a huge audience, that's what the fear is. it's very controlled. I know you're not going to pull out a knife. You're not going to pull out a gun. You're not going to have your friend jump in. You're going to stop if you win, or the ref's going to stop you, right?
The
Uh,
safety net.
yeah, safety net. Real violence doesn't have that. Okay. The reason that trained MMA fighters, there's two main reasons that trained MMA fighters you won't see fighting in the street. One is money, because if
Right.
you're not paying me to do that, fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. And I'll also tie that to the negative end, which is I don't want to go to jail and have an assault charge and pay
Yeah.
money for lawyers. So money both
Yeah.
ways, either way.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Two, if you're well trained, you will understand two things. One, that shit's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And two, if I lose and that guy doesn't want to stop, he doesn't have to. He could choke me to death. He could beat me to death.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thought as a fighter, because I know intelligently that the chances of me getting in a street fight and fighting someone that has the same training base or better than me, super, super, super,
Super
super,
rare. Yeah.
super low.
Yeah, you're never being attacked by that kind of person. You're being attacked by somebody who's on drugs, most likely. It's a heavy association.
Exactly. But because there's that chance, and
Right.
because when I'm in the MMA gym, I do get beat up all the time, because there's levels to this game. There are
Right.
people that are much better than me.
Oh, yeah.
There's levels to this game. That it's kind of like a little restrictor,
Right.
right? It's a restrictor that's in there. But what comes with that, regardless, is you do have calmness in situations, and it
Right.
helps you de-escalate, right? Because I think rational action happens from a lack of self-confidence,
Right.
and the unknown. And when you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen if a fight does happen, and you do have self-confidence, it's
Right.
easy to stay calm and then start using intelligence to de-escalate a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great points, and thank you for speaking on that, because I know it's one of those things that we hear all the time about what MMA is, and we had that one video before about a guy said it was a gold standard, and he was very nice. We had a good conversation back and forth in the comments. It's just I thought of that moment because when the safety net's gone, the fear changes. It's not just a fear, like you said. It was very, very well said that fear I'm going to lose. Now it's a fear not just of the unknown of there is no safety whatsoever here. He could do anything. Worse, you said you just got married. And I've had that thought a number of times too. What happens if he takes me and then my family's here? What's he going to do to them? That level of fear skyrockets to an entirely different place that like your brain just goes, oh, hell no. Like that I would give anything for an MMA fight versus that. Like, please.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I do think that what comes with that is, if push does come to shove and you do have to engage, because of all those factors that you just thought of, the amount of intensity and focus you're going to have is going to be at an all-time fucking high.
Yeah.
So, there's the one benefit.
Right. I've always said, I think mixed martial arts and the cage fighters, they are the top notch of the martial arts world. It's the hardest thing to do in martial arts. They are conditioned like no one's business. They got huge gas tanks. It's some of the most impressive of the impressive without crossing that line that we don't get to come back from. It's the closest thing to the legal side we got. But, even back in the day in the Roman gladiators, they were doing a different thing. When it's a match, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that shit, I think about that all the time. Like, to be a gladiator where you are fighting to the death, like, fuck that, dude.
Right.
That's
100%. Yes, sir. So, all right, we're going to go through these questions real quick. So we have some before, during, and after questions. So as far as the baseline, before the event occurred, what was your general worldview? I know you mentioned this about being married, and that was recent. Did you feel generally safe in the world, or are you already type of a cautious person when it came to like a street encounter type of a thing?
Yeah, 100%. So we'll answer these quickly because I know that we're only got about 20 minutes here.
Okay.
Before this event, I did feel like I lived in a safe world. And the majority reason I felt like that was because I was the big bad wolf. So I wasn't afraid of any big bad wolves. I did have really high situational awareness though, because of the training that I went through.
Right.
So in general, no matter where I went, like I always knew like where the escape route was, who was around me, who was behind me, what's happening, potential threats, like who looks like they could be a problem. Like I very much so was doing that at a very high pace. Again, this is why I was so upset that this
Right.
situation caught me off guard, because normally very high self-awareness.
Yeah.
Post this event, there's a few things that I do differently that I should have been doing anyways. Like my car is always fucking locked until I'm ready to get out of it. Ain't nobody opening the fucking door on me.
Yep.
Before, when I park anywhere, like I scan the area to make sure that there's no one walking up on me, right? Because even if your car is locked, if someone's got a gun, okay, I fucking installed a magnetic gun thing in my car where my gun sits. That way, if someone does roll up on me, I can just lock and load, point and shoot out the door.
Right.
So there's like adjustments that I made to make myself feel more secure in the world.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, and then the environment, as we paint the picture of the setting, what were the sounds, smells, and the general vibe as you were, you put it in park and he opens your door. What does that look like?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this is like right before the summertime, right? So it was a beautiful, like sunny spring day, birds are chirping, like my mood, the environment, like it smelled like flowers, like the environment. I was in a good mood. It was, when the door opened and he got on me, I didn't hear any noise anymore.
Wow.
I went from enjoying everything to just an extreme heightened fear. And while I was in the midst of fighting, like I was tunneled in on that guy, right? So I couldn't see anything around me. I couldn't feel anything around me. I couldn't hear anything around me. It wasn't until I got out of the immediate danger that I started having sensations coming back again.
Right. Yeah.
And that was when my brain started racing on like, what do we do next?
Right. So that kind of goes into the last question for the before. Any quiet warning signs whatsoever. There wasn't any type of a feeling that you had. Nothing. It was all flatline until door opens.
You got it. Which is again why I was so upset, because I had zero situation. When you are in a place of complete relaxation,
right?
Because you're home, right? You just got home. You're excited to see your wife.
Right.
Like life is good. It's a beautiful sunny day. There was no. I didn't have any spidey sense, no tingly feeling, no like, oh shit, bad stuff is coming, right? Because if I would have, that situation wouldn't have happened.
Right.
But
absolutely. And it makes sense because you're Cooper's colors. You're driving in yellow, you're scanning, and then you put it in park because you're home. So you're transitioning into white because you're about to be inside where anything happens, you got time to prepare. There's an entry and an exit and a door, and that makes a lot of sense. So you have those, and then, oh my goodness, can you describe the exact second that social mask just fell off and you realized that violence was the reality? What did the transition feel like physically for you in that moment?
It felt like a huge punch to the gut. It felt like the hardest shot I ever took to my stomach possible. It felt like pain in my chest. It felt like violent shaking in my hands. That was like the physical reaction. And then like the mental reaction was just like this feeling of like, I can die. And what happens when I die? Because that's never something that I contemplated. I never contemplated like what happens when I die.
Yeah.
And as a young person, when you're forced to contemplate that, like that is a hard thing to contemplate.
Right. Oh yeah.
So, that's, along with all the other things I already talked about, like it was a very mentally trying time for me.
Absolutely. So I know you actually already mentioned the taxiphasia. So the time slowing down effect that had happened, was there any auditory exclusion as well? And, for the audience that doesn't understand those two, taxiphasia just feels like the time is slowing down, even though it's staying constant. And auditory exclusion is you could have a gunshot go off, but you don't hear it, even though it's right next to you. That's what we're talking about is taxiphasia and then auditory exclusion. Was there any auditory exclusion?
Yeah. So, as soon as the attack occurred and I was aware of it, I had immediate auditory exclusion from everything except what he was saying to me. So everything, all the other sounds and inputs I was feeling were gone at that moment, and I was just fully locked into him. After the attack was all said and done, because all that came back, and I went into shock, which is when I felt like the gut punch, the chest pain, the hand shaking. It was ringing. I heard ringing in my ears, like a ping.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like very, very disorienting.
And he got that knife
That
into your headrest, or when because he
yeah, yeah,
swung and you moved and went with an upper block, so he tagged your headrest. Jesus, wow,
yeah, yeah. It was actually just below the just below the headrest, like in like the upper portion of the seat, because he was aiming for like my chest.
wow, wow. Man, this is why I want to do this with you. This thing is just insane. So what? The first coherent thought that you have. So you backed up. It's ended for a moment. What's the first coherent thought? Was it a prayer, a calculation, a command?
No, the first coherent thought I had was like after I got off of him and he was able to get up, the first coherent thought I had was to let him know that I wasn't there to kill him
Right.
and that I had just gotten married, which is why that came out of my mouth.
Right.
The next coherent thought I had as he ran away from me was I just fucked up and I should have held him down. I should have held him down till help got there, because oh my god, he'd be going to grab a gun.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I still very much so have my adrenaline pumping at a million miles per hour, because now I'm thinking, oh shit, what am I going to do if he comes out with a gun? Right?
Yeah.
Like how am I going to deal with that threat? And instinctually, I wanted to run inside, but what kept me from doing that was just the lock. I mean, because this is a core value. Like, if you're someone I love, like, I'll put your life above my life. And all I could think is, if he does have a gun
Right.
and I go to the door and he chases me down and I get inside and he's able to follow inside, my wife's in there and
Right.
I know that my gun is locked up. And at that time I did not have like a beep 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 to get
Right.
into it.
Right.
Like, we're in a safe that needs a key to get a
Right.
shotgun, right?
Right.
Like, or to grab my sidearm. Like,
Right.
no time for me to be dealing with all that and possibly jeopardizing my wife. That's
Right.
how I was
Yeah.
feeling.
Absolutely.
So I mean, yeah. So it was pretty surreal being like, "Fuck, I fucked up." Right
Yeah.
now, now I fucked up twice. One, I wasn't paying attention, and two, I just let him go.
Right. That's how these things happen, man. And I'm so sorry you experienced it, but this is why I wanted to do this, so that people understand all of that. All of that is the norm, and unless you go through it, you won't know. You just
Oh,
won't know.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Everyone thinks that they're tough and they can fight. Especially if you don't train, you think you're tough and you can fight, because you just don't know. You don't know what that feeling is, you know?
No, absolutely. So when you made the choice, and let's do it this way for the choice section, you saw the eyes going back and forth. What did that feel like, that you had the control? Because you were ready. You were going through there. And that's what gave you the PTSD
Yeah,
later of not doing it. But you
yeah.
saw it and you went,
All I could think to myself when I saw his eyes shaking back and forth was, he is scared to death and he thinks he's going to die.
right,
And because I saw that, I didn't want to kill him.
right,
That was, I don't know how else to describe that. Like,
yeah,
extreme empathy. And I think my extreme empathy kind of came from the fact that I think I was just in that position.
right,
Right.
right,
And, and the words that he had said to me, right? This wasn't someone that was just like, I want to kill you because I'm psycho and I want to kill
right,
you. Right. You're going to kill me and my girlfriend? No, fuck you. I'm going to kill you. Those
yeah,
were his exact words.
yeah,
And I think my brain running at a million miles per hour as I saw his eyes shaking was like, this guy already thought I was coming to kill him. Now I could kill him. And all I want to do is just be done with the situation. I don't want to end his life.
right,
I don't want
yeah,
to take, I don't want to take, I don't want that,
right, no, yeah, man. All right, so going through the last few, we'll try to rapid fire these. I know you only got a little bit of time left. So the immediate aftermath, once the threat was gone, and what was the first thing that your brain tried to rationalize or solve?
Like, I think the biggest thing that my brain first was trying to rationalize, like immediately after it was done and after I got done crying and like being in the fucking shock zone, was how did this happen? Why did this happen? Why didn't I see it coming? I think that was like what was just running through my head, running through my head, running through my head. Like, how could this happen? Why did this happen? Why didn't I see it coming? Why didn't I see it coming? Why didn't I see it coming? I remember I went and saw my instructor that night. Why didn't I see this coming? Like, why do I feel
Right.
like I lost? You
Right.
know, that's what it felt
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah. No, you know what?
Um,
That's the thing. Your training worked because you don't think, you move. Everything that
yeah,
happened afterward, when you got back into your prefrontal cortex, when you got to that point and you started making those rational decisions, they were all excellent decisions. And it not just kept you out of jail, but it kept somebody alive. And I mean, you probably in Washington State that you've been legal to do what you had the moment, but you made the human choice to stop yourself. And we're very, very proud of you, man. That most people won't be able to recognize that in that moment. It's so hard to have an empathy moment when someone has swung a blade at your head. That's almost unheard of. So, very, very much so props for you. Seriously.
yeah. No, it's it's one of those things too, because the two father figures in my life, which were my dad and then my ex wife's father, had two completely different reactions. Because my dad was disappointed in me, and he essentially was like, "You should have killed him, and that could have gone really bad.
Yeah.
You could be dead right now. That guy could have got a gun. He could have shot you, and also that guy, especially if he's on drugs and doing that kind of shit, like he might kill someone else in the future."
Right.
And you could have prevented that. And my dad's a very, he's didn't mean it to be a negative thing,
Right.
right? He meant all of that to be like a very positive, constructive, protective, right?
Yeah.
Also, my dad was fucking if my dad was there, he would have killed him, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Out of daddy bear protective
Right.
mode, right?
Of
My
course.
dad would have.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
You're a parent. Of
Like,
course you do. I'm not
yeah,
hesitating on
my
that.
dad.
That's my kid. Get away.
Yeah, my
So,
dad would have flattened that guy without thought. And then my father-in-law had the same reaction you just had. I'm glad you're alive, and I'm proud of you
yeah.
for not taking his life. You handled the situation, and he goes, and it worked out.
Yeah.
That was his thing. It worked out. Both of those viewpoints are valid,
Yeah.
right? Both of
Well,
those views, because it
absolutely.
could have not, it could have went the other way. So it's
And for your father, he's absolutely right in that sense too. You would want to, maybe not right away, but I'd want to have that conversation too, because that situation is not going to happen again. It'd be really strange that it happened in the first place, but if you hesitate the second time, it could go the other way. And I think as
yeah,
long
no,
as most people
100%.
know that hesitation can get you killed, but if you can practice empathy in the moment because you got the upper hand and stopped, it absolutely has that ability to happen, and it's just not as common. So, real quick for these last few, once the threat was gone, what was the first thing your brain tried to self rationalize? Went through that one. The evolution. How has your threat detection system changed? And when you walk into a room now, what's the first thing that you see that most people miss?
Yeah. So my threat detection now, like I said, anywhere I go, like if I park somewhere, like I'm scanning everywhere before I start initiating the get out of the car process, unplugging my phone or grabbing what I have to grab, right? Doors are locked until I'm ready to get out of the car. I have kids. If I'm unloading my kids, it's a second check. Analyze everything that's happening before I get distracted with getting my kid out. As far as walking in a room, I am looking for three main things. And this started before the situation really, which is one, I'm seeing who has a gun just because I want to know. And even if you're a good concealed carrier, if you know what to look at, if you know what to look at, you can spot it. Two, where are my closest exits? That way, if I need to get, GTFO, I can. And three, analyzing just from a vibe,
Right,
if anyone was going to be a problem, what are the chances that I would have a difficult time handling them?
right,
And this is like part of my own spirituality and like my own growth in martial arts as I've become a more skilled fighter is reading aura,
right,
right? And I can read the aura of people very easily. And I feel when I meet a fighter that's like, oh, you are a fighter, I feel that aura. Now I've never had confrontation with that because I'm like, oh, me too, and let's talk about it. right?
Right.
You know, I recently just made a new friend. He's the one that's got me back into cage fighting at Shambhala again. He happened to join our group. He was really nervous because he hadn't had a good experience with the rave community. He joins our group and he sees me, comes up to me, and is like, "Are you a fighter?" And I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Me too." And like that started our friendship. And like he's an active pro fighter. And like, you know, if you're actively in fighting and in martial arts, like you should have a good radar on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I'm doing.
Right. Sounds good. And then let's see here. So, last three real quick ones. If you could give the audience one mental tool or a piece of invisible armor to carry with them, what would it be?
I think the best piece of advice that I could give anyone is have situational awareness and don't put yourself in a bad spot. It's important to not be pessimistic and assume that everyone's dangerous, but it's also important to assume that no one is your friend until proven so. And I think the simplest equation I'll give for that, because I teach women's self-defense, is the number one line for women's self-defense is not putting yourself in a private space that can hurt you. And you know, as few as to say like, hey, if you are at college and you meet a boy in college and you like him and everything's nice and he says, let's go study in my dorm room, that's the situation I'm talking about. Most rapes happen from someone that you kind of know, but not well enough to know if that's going to be something that's going to be a problem. So situational awareness is huge. And like, just have your head on a swivel. Don't be looking down at your phone everywhere you go. Don't have two headphones in, like things like that. Right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And the last one. Have you changed anything about what you train now versus what you trained then for yourself and for your students?
You know, it's funny because I feel like the training that I've changed is more about self-preservation. I no longer do hard sparring. Hard sparring, fighting should only be for the cage because there's too much damage to be done to your body. And I used to be old school in MMA and we would spar hard. I mean, I got knocked out 3 times in sparring,
Right.
not in the cage. So that's a big thing that I've changed. The other thing is like repetition on things that you're going to need, which is something I started immediately after this. And I already was doing it again. So I guess it's not changing training, but like in Kempo, like our knife drills, the reason that I was able to defend myself is because like that's a drill that we do all the time, right? The knife pick is coming in, upward block, fan it away, attack. Right.
Yeah.
And so Balinta walk is a big thing that I did for many, many years, which is stick and knife fighting. It's Filipino style stick and knife fighting. And I think just in general, like use it or lose it. Right. So if you're a martial artist, black belt is not the destination. Right. Black belt is just we've hit the level of I understand the martial art and now I can increase my understanding and my abilities throughout the rest of my journey. But if you stop, you will lose it.
Yeah, 100%. Very well said, sir. Thank you so much for doing this. It was awesome. I am so thankful you're willing to share the story and have people learn because that I can think of a better one to start off with the chaos and confusion. And then it's after. You find out after what's going to work. You find out after what the real story was. You find out after I didn't know these things during. That is how violence unfolds. And we're so very much so appreciative for your teaching us this because I don't think enough people can hear the story. I think that everybody should hear the story. That is
100%.
So necessary for the commenters.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. This was actually the first ever podcast or type situation I've ever done. First time speaking like this, so I was a little bit nervous to just be on camera speaking, but it went smoothly. I do have to go, though. My son's getting out of school, so you have a blessed day.
You too. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
All right.